Hello and welcome to Ask Ms. Myrz, where we answer your most burning questions and solve your most nagging problems. I won't always know the answer, but I'll know someone who will. Whether the pandemic has forced you to do a career shift, made you reconsider your career path after realizing things about yourself, or if you've actually been thinking about a career change for a long time now, you will definitely benefit from the wisdom and advice of today's guest. She's a leadership growth and success coach, an International Coaching Federation professional certified coach, a master certified coach trainer, and founder of Leadership Mind Mastery, and a resident faculty member of the Center for Executive Coaching. Please welcome Ms. Carla Manas.
Hi, Mirza. How are you? Hello. Nice to see you, even on StreamYard.
Right. Thanks for being here. Glad to finally pin you down from your busy back-to-back webinars and sessions.
Thank you for being so patient with me. It's really a privilege for me to be here. I watch your shows and your episodes, and I really find the topics that you feature interesting and very helpful.
Wow, thank you so much. And today's topic, I think many people will resonate very much with it. But before that, let's have a bit of a background. You yourself used to belong to the corporate world and you pivoted into coaching. Tell us how you became a coach.
Well, I've been in corporate for 3 decades, and I myself was helped. My leadership journey was not easy, and I went ups and downs before I finally got the right, leadership style to be able to empower the team that I was working with. And I was supported myself by a coach. And because of that, I saw the benefit of, what an increased awareness could contribute to a, better perspective and better decisions. And because of that, I said I wanted to do it. And I've been coaching even in the corporate world, and I saw the benefit. I saw how people were getting more productive, more engaged. I was literally not in the business. I was on the business, and we were so productive. And I realized this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to spend more time with my growing kids at the time. I wanted to, earn more, but I wanted to have more impact, work with different companies, not with the company that I was with, but I wanted to work with different leaders. And that's what I was able to do for the past 3 years. I've been working with different corporations, politicians, different leaders, to be able to support them to optimize themselves so they can also optimize their team.
Great. Now, the word pivot is such an overused word now, and many are annoyed by it already, but I can't think of a better word. And if you look at the definition of pivot as a noun, a pivot is a central point on which a mechanism turns or oscillates. So parang you're still anchored on your center, but then you make a turn to adapt. So these days, I think the pandemic has forced all of us to rethink our lives, our priorities, what we want to do, or what other priorities we want to spend more time on. Or some people maybe discovered that they thrive from working from home rather than going to work, or some people even want to belong in a different field entirely.
That's right.
And Go ahead.
Go ahead. I love your definition of the pivot. I love that you research the definition of the pivot. And the other day I was watching this dancer who was doing a pivot. And the way that the pivot is that one foot is firmly planted on the ground. That's just like your foundation, while the other changes direction. But for you to be able to do a successful pivot, the foot that's planted on the ground is your foundation. It has to remain firmly rooted, so that you can successfully execute the pivot into going to another direction. It's basically what you said. It's like you have to have a central mechanism, and that central mechanism is really who you are as a person. That doesn't change. So even if you change careers, change jobs, change anything, your essence of who you are doesn't change. Maybe you can enhance it a bit. Maybe you can unleash, bring out your talents, the ones that have been latent or you didn't even know was there, you nurture it more. But it's really basically who you are already. So that's like I think the essence of pivot is really is that remaining true to who you are, even if you change direction, you're not really changing, because as a pivot is like your one foot is remaining firmly planted on the ground while the other is changing direction just to support you. And then you move to where direction you may want to go.
Right, exactly. And if there's anyone who has felt the effects of COVID, it is you being a COVID survivor. You turned 50 all alone in a hospital ward when you had COVID. And you even told the doctor, paabuti mo naman ako kahit 6 years old. And
Ang
you
babaw ko.
said,
Ang babaw ko, 10 years lang yung hiningi ko.
and you also said that it strengthened your belief that you can uplift the lives of others by leveraging your gift, which is the ability to identify other people's potential. And hopefully today you will help us do just that.
I hope so. And thank you for the opportunity. Yes, it was a really, I'm turning 1 year already, close to 1 year. It was March 17th when I entered the hospital. It's going to be 1 year, imagine. And yeah,
Right.
it's been a pivot. It's really been a pivot year. What I've been doing in the past months, almost 11 months already, was something I couldn't have imagined prior to the pandemic. It was a painful journey for me when I got sick for a couple of months, but it turned out to be a blessing. It opened up so many opportunities, and I'm hoping that talking about it now for everyone else who's listening, that maybe encountering such difficulties, to be able to look at their challenges and problems, to be able to see it as an opportunity for them to grow. Because change is not something that, I was resisting change myself. I was resisting being in the hospital. I was pleading, I was ready to ransom my husband to the doctor to give him 10 more years. Because I wanted to do more. I wanted to spend time with my family. But, luckily with God's help and love of friends, and of course my doctor's support, I was able to get through it.
Right. Many industries have been affected by the pandemic, some more than others. So some really don't have a choice except to pivot. But for those who are reconsidering ng other priorities, how wise or foolish is it to do a pivot at this time? Like pagsasabayan pa, di ba? What do you think? Or is it the perfect opportunity to take advantage to do a pivot?
I think it really depends on the circumstances. I would suggest for people who have stable jobs right now but are thinking to do a pivot is to do the 5 A's, to assess first, to see what are they really, why do they really want to change? Maybe it's just temporary unhappiness with their job. Maybe it's just an unhappiness with the setup. Maybe it's just unhappiness with their coworkers or the current situation. But to be able to look at it and maybe not to act rashly, but to understand why. Now, if the why is clear and they really feel a burning desire, like they really feel, I really want to do something. It's really, it's something that I can't stop, I can't prevent because it's burning and it's very clear, the path is clear, then to deep dive into that feeling and to understand where it's coming from and then to do the planning already.
Right. Or for some naman na medyo siguro nanganganib yung financial situation, they might even worry and say, ngayon pa dapat? Parang wag muna dapat? Or ano ba?
Oh, it's really challenging, no? But sometimes kasi even when you're financially well, and kahit nanganganib, di ba, challenged, but your heart's not into it, though sometimes you really just have to weigh, right? I mean, it's hard to say which one is right or wrong. I would always, of course, if there are people depending on you, like in terms of your family, your children, or your relatives, your siblings, there are people that you're supporting, to be very, very cautious about making a decision. But if you planned it all out, you've looked at the financial, you looked at the physical changes, the emotional challenges, and you really feel that you want to go ahead, then trust that. I think no opportunity has ever been born out of comfort. And ever you really want to create something new, it's always uncomfortable. And if you're ready, as long as you're ready to be able to embrace that discomfort, to be able to go to that place where you feel is a better place for you, if it's well thought of, I think it's the only advice I can say is to think about it really well. Maybe talk to an advisor, a mentor, a good friend, maybe your boss that you can trust, your HR person, or your sibling or your spouse, somebody who really wants the best for you, to be able to bounce back ideas and to see things more clearly, not coming from emotion, but coming from logic as well. Maybe that would be a better thing to do, especially if there's a financial impact on you and your family.
Right. On the other hand, we have all realized how short life is. And if we are unhappy, then we shouldn't be unhappy a moment more. But first, we will jump right into your 5 A's. You have given us your 5 essential steps towards pivoting a career at this time. So for number 1, you say assess, clarify your goals, and align with your passion.
Yes, and this is what we were talking about earlier, where if you're not happy anymore, you need to be able to assess what's causing the unhappiness. You clarify your goal. What's your goal? Is it financial wellness? Is it being happy and still getting like financial rewards? Is it pursuing your passion? So understand where your passion is. I would recommend there on the internet you can find it to find your ikigai, and that's really the intersection of what you're good at. Like what really people say you're really great at baking, great at cooking. For you, great at interviewing, great at finding the answers, great at finding the potential of people. What you're good, what you love, what you're good at, and what the world needs. So if the world needs it and the world is willing to pay for it, and that's your ikigai. So the intersection of the 4 points, what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what the world is willing to pay for, that's your ikigai. When you find that, that's your assessment. So think through it to clarify your goals. If you know what your ikigai, what now? What do you, the question that, it's such a powerful but very simple questions, what do you want? What do you want to come out of your life? What do you want today? What do you want 3 years from now? What do you want 5, 10 years from now for yourself and for the family? When that is assessed already, when you have a clear goal already where you want to go, then you can move to step 2.
Okay. So kailangan mag-intercept. Pwedeng you're good at it, but people are not willing to pay for it. Patay.
Yeah, kasi diba, yung financial nga, diba? Parang sometimes we have a dream, diba? When we're kids, or, people will say, ang galing mo magluto, wow, go and open a restaurant. But in this pandemic time, even if you're really great, even if you have that magic, taste and touch, right? And it's so challenging, as you know, to put up a restaurant right now. The existing ones with really good name brands, like even Raintree. I mean, it's challenged because of the situation right now, and it's not so easy getting into the food business. I mean, great that you have great brands like this that are able to continue to be successful, but it's so difficult. So you need to know what the world is willing to pay for, what you can earn from, because it's not just about passion. Or some people say, I wanna, let's say, paint. Okay, you want to paint the whole day, and that's really great. It makes you feel alive, it makes you feel so joyful, makes you feel so happy. But if nobody is willing to pay for your paintings, or if you don't have a market, or if you don't know how to market yourself, then how can you earn? Especially if you need to earn a living. And in reality, every one of us have to earn a living. So you have to be able to balance that and find that intersection. Don't move until you kind of know already, okay, you kind of have an idea already. Can I make money out of this, or can I monetize this? Is there people willing to pay for my service that I want to pursue, right? Are people willing to eat my food, order my paintings, or whatever it is that you're going to do?
Otherwise, should it just remain a hobby?
It can be a hobby. You can do it side by side, like doing your job, but at the same time, nothing's preventing you, especially now where the work from home setup, there's still a lot more time, right? For you to do a lot of things with removing the transport time or the movement time to go to work. You have so many things that you can do. I feel that during the pandemic, people, while we lost a lot of information or time with our friends, we gained a lot of time for ourselves to be more discerning of where we spend it, and the quality of by which we're able to do things. So I think we're more purposive in the way we choose to do things, like whatever we want to pursue.
Right. So for number 2, you say analyze, do a self-inventory of your talents, transferable assets, and gaps. What do you mean by the last 2?
So, for example, if you already know what your goal is, like for example, you mentioned a scenario where you're in an existing job and you want to move to another job, like maybe they're already done dating people, or the pay's not as good because there are no travel. So, for example, you're a pilot, and we know that the aviation industry, the travel, is just really, really been challenged. And you're a pilot, and you're not going out on flights. Obviously, you need to do something, and so you look at your talents. Where are you good at? What are your transferable assets? You can probably you're not going to find a job as a pilot anymore for now, while on your furlough, but maybe you can do something else. Maybe your transferable asset is that you're good in navigation, right? So because you're a pilot, you know exactly the landmarks. Maybe there's a job in Google where, they need navigation people. So to look at your asset, not at the job. Or for example, your transferable asset is that you're good at sales. So maybe the product that you're selling is not marketable at right now, and they had to let you go. So you lost a job during the pandemic. But because you're good at sales, no matter what product you sell, you have the fundamentals of being a great salesperson. You can maybe transfer it to another industry that is still in demand. So, for example, I have a friend who's really, really great at selling. They were that he got furloughed, so he moved to he started selling motorcycles. Obviously, there's a demand for motorcycles, right? Or he started selling online products. Put up a shop and partnered with the online stores and started selling medical supplies that was really in demand already. And his product at that time, he was working with a supplies company, and that had put him on furlough because they weren't selling as much. So you look at the transferable assets. What do you have that can be applied? So, for example, it can be, let's say, organizing. You can be an organizer of an online party or an online event, maybe not a live event. So these are the transferable assets that you have, not just with your job, but maybe in your interest, maybe in your communities, maybe in your volunteer work that you're good at, that you can transfer to another job. So, and look at it. So look at your talents, look at your transferable assets, and use that to be able to apply. So that when you put it in your resume, you just don't put what you were doing before, like I'm good at selling this product, but you can say, I'm a good salesperson. My skill is to be able to identify the pain points of the client, to be able to give them what they want, to be able to close the sale, to be able to give the customers after sales customer service. And then if, for example, you have a goal, the third part there is identifying the gap. For example, you have a goal and you're clear about this is the industry I want to be in. This is really my passion and I feel that I can find a job here. So for example, somebody who used to be marketing now wants to do social media management. But I'm not very sure that I have the skills. I'm probably in my 30s or 40s. I'm a bit rusty here. So you look at your gaps. Like I'm not very good at StreamYard, like the first time that I used it. So maybe my gap is after this interview, I'll start researching on how I can use StreamYard. It seems to be a wonderful product and I can study it. Or if you're not good at, let's say, technology, you can brush up. There's a lot of free resources on the internet right now. I mean, they're giving it away for free. So I mean, you learn so much. Like I'm learning now emotional intelligence. During the pandemic, it's when I finished my certification to be a trainer. I never thought I would be a trainer. I mean, this was a gap for me. And I told you, I'm a bit nervous when I'm talking in public, even if it's just one-on-one. And so that's my gap. I had to be practicing more. I had to study. I had to train myself. I had to work with someone to be more comfortable, find out, what was the discomfort. So look at the gap. And if you're sure about where you want to go, then figure out what resources do you need. Like, can you study? Can somebody help you? Can somebody teach you? During the pandemic, we didn't have a helper and I needed to learn how to cook. I was cooking, but not very well. And so I learned how to cook. My husband, Rene, learned how to cook as well. That was the gap. So he said he wanted to be a better, he wanted to eat more nutritious food. We didn't want to, at the time, also, we couldn't order at the time. In the beginning, it was so difficult to find restaurants that were ordering. But good thing now, I have restaurants that I can order from that, like Raintree, that, that supports us. But my husband learned how to cook. I also learned how to cook a bit. So look at the gaps and figure out who can support you or what resources do you have available to be able to fill in that gap, to narrow that gap, to fill in that gap so that you can apply for the job or do things that you feel is your ikigai.
Right. I was very surprised when you confessed to me that you had a fear of public speaking. I'm like, how can that be? You're a coach, but it really doesn't show. You're so confident and self-assured.
Thank you. But as a coach, it's one-on-one. It's never recorded. I feel so exposed when it's here. It's FB Live and everything. And I realized this is really just something that I needed to focus on. I needed to conquer. It's never going to go away, but you just manage it, right? And you just manage it every time. And of course, it helps that you're also such a great, warm host, right? Interviewer. So I kind of feel like I'm just talking to you in the house and having a cup of coffee. So yeah, it's
important talking to each other in the house. So
yes.
So I guess this will also help people get over their fears. Like people might have fears like, what if I'm too late in the game? What if I'm too old? What if there are too many already like that? Makikisaw-saw pa ba ako? Ang dami-dami ng whatever gusto mong pasukin, di ba?
There's
What
always, I think, a space when you really are clear about the vision. The universe will really conspire to give what you want, or what the work what you need, if the purpose is clear and it's about for the good, the general good. Like, the purpose is not just for yourself, but you also want to be able to share your talent to other people. The universe will really conspire. And as I said, I didn't even know that I was going to be a trainer. I was just really a coach, but I wanted to share my talents, and people were looking for more coaches, and I was only one person. I could only service so much. I was also sick. So I said that I needed to develop other coaches. I didn't know at the time, the fears that you mentioned. What if nobody paid me? It's so expensive, the program. What if, at this point, it's not viable? What if nobody would pay? What if nobody enrolled? But I said to myself, even with just one person, even if I could just develop one person, I'm okay. That's 100% more than me. I said I only needed to multiply myself. So if I was able to train one coach who had maybe 10 clients, wow, imagine the exponential impact. That's 100% more than me. So I was like, okay, so just thinking about, I just need one person to support me. I ended up with 9, and then now I have another 10. So that's great. And honestly, I really don't know. I did my work. I did everything I could, but at the same time, it's really the universe. It's really God supporting you. When the purpose is clear, and I think the intention is really good. And everything will fall into place.
Right. I love that. Just find one person to support you. And I guess surround yourself with people who will support rather than dissuade you, right?
Yeah. I think now the pandemic is a great time to look at your friends and to see
Right.
who are the ones that you want to surround with. Like, somebody, I can't remember who said, you are the sum total of the 5 people you hang out with.
Right.
So if the
Right.
people that you're hanging up with are always going to diss you, or to discourage you, or not even encourage you, then maybe you should look for another 5 other people who will support you, right? In a grounded way, not just support you just to say, I'll cheer you on, but to also look at the facts with you, to come up with an informed decision to support you, and say, you can do this. These are the things that may go wrong. What are the things that you can plan for?
Right. So number 3, it's all in that attitude because it
Yeah,
will
it's
change
very
your.
important. The attitude. I used to think that, when you're so purposive, you're great, you feel that you're great, you know what the answer is, and everything, you have the resources, everything will fall into place. But I realized, coming into the game, is that it's really attitude is very, very important. And what are these 5 attitudes? Wherever you are, whatever job, whatever passion that you're going to pursue, these 5 attitudes are very important. And these attitudes are: one is the attitude of possibilities. Do you think that what you're going to pursue is possible? Do you think that you are possible? Are you your number one fan? Are you going to invest in yourself? Are you going to bet on yourself? So do you think it's possible, you and your idea? So that attitude is very important. If you yourself are going into whatever your action is thinking, oh, it might not work, then you've already lost half of the game, because you don't even believe in it. So you have to be 101% believing in yourself. Number 2 is to be able to have that attitude of self-reliance. Like, that it's up to you. Whatever it is that you're going to do, if you're going to fail, it's up to you. If it's going to succeed, it's also up to you. Everything is all up to you. You're in control. There are a lot of things that we're not in control with, but we're in control about the way we react to things. So you're in control. You're self-reliant. And then the third attitude is the attitude of commitment. Commitment is really just doing everything that it takes. Sometimes we say, I really want to be successful, but we don't want to get up out of bed. Or we don't want to do the hard work, right? Or we don't want to do it because, oh, it's so hard. I mean, look at you. Myrz, you're such a successful CEO, really. But you're doing this interview, learned how to do StreamYard, doing the Cargen all by yourself. Because you're committed. You wanted to be a great speaker, a great motivational speaker. I remember you telling me, I think about a year, 2 years ago, this is what you wanted. And look at you in the pandemic. You've been able to pivot because you're committed. And no amount of pandemic, no amount of challenges will stop you. That's how committed you are. And that's very, very important. Sometimes you don't even need the resources. All right. You didn't need a lot of resources. Maybe a laptop, a light, and a subscription, but at the end of the day, it's really just about you. So commitment is very, very important. And then when you have the commitment, that attitude of hard work, how you look at hard work is very important. A lot of us say we want something, but we're not willing to put in the work to do it. So the hard work is there. Nobody's gonna knock on your door and say, "Hey, I'm gonna give you a check for whatever, 1,000,000 pesos, or I'm gonna give you a business." Great if you have parents that will give you a business just like that without having to work for it. But how often is that going to happen? In this pandemic, we all have to work for everything that we have even before the pandemic. So hard work, that attitude, that hard work is great. That I'm willing to put in the hard work to achieve my goal. That's very important. And the last attitude is the attitude of growth. When we look at failure, do we look at it as a point of growth or a point of loss? Because if you look at it as a point of loss and you say, "Oh, I failed, I'm not going to do this again, I keep on failing." But if you look at it from a point of growth where I learned something out of this, I grew as a person, and I may have failed, it may not have worked out, but I learned and I grew. It's not really a failure. A friend of mine told me, whenever I would play victim sometimes and say, "Oh my God, why is this happening to me?" Especially during when I got sick, I was blaming myself. Like, why did I get sick? I was so careful. I was doing so many things. Why did I get sick? So I was like really beating myself up. And then what a friend of mine told me, things happen, not to you, but they happen for you.
Wow.
And that was my realization that when we were talking that, yeah, you're right, I looked at the COVID being sick as like a liability, like, wow, kawawa naman ako. I couldn't stand up. I couldn't even breathe. I couldn't control everything. I was so depressed in the hospital. I was alone. I was thinking about all the things I didn't have. But then when I look at it as why was it happening to me, it brought me closer to God. It deepened my faith. It allowed me to spend time with myself and to understand what I really wanted to do and how much effort I was going to put. It allowed me to be closer to my friends. It allowed me to connect to people that I haven't seen. It allowed me my family is more prayerful now. We pray every night together. We never used to pray to do that before the pandemic. And these are opportunities. So things didn't happen to me. Things happened for me. And that's the reason I think that's very, very important when you have an attitude of growth. Like, you always want to grow. Even if you're very successful, maybe you have a business right now or you have a job, but you're still doing really great during the pandemic. But how can you always move forward? That attitude of growth is very important. Once you have that attitude, there's no way you can fail. Also the attitude of possibilities, the attitude of self-reliance, that you're in control, the attitude of commitment, the attitude of hard work, and the attitude of growth. When you have all of that, everything else will really things will just fall into place without you even putting so much thought with it. As long as you're willing to embrace that kind of attitude, that positivity. Also very important, when you have a growth perspective, you're also very positive about things. You try to reframe things that are happening to you instead of like being a victim to all the situation. You're always looking at the bright side. What are these opportunities to be able to spread yourself and grow?
I love how you rebranded failure as growth. And I think the fear of failure often stems from the fear of judgment. Like, if we do decide to do a pivot and change our career, we're so afraid of what people will say na, "Nako, dati ganyan siya, top of the totem pole siya, tapos ngayon nagbebenta na lang ng motor," di ba? So we're so afraid of judgments. Do you have any advice on how to conquer those nagging little voices? And I heard also na ang pinakatakot ng ma-judge, usually, yung mga judgmental.
That's true. We reflect, right? It's a reflection of how we think about ourselves.
Right.
And normally, so you answered your own question. You start with yourself, because when you're afraid of judgment, normally it's your own judgment of yourself that you're most afraid of. And for you to be able to conquer that, my number one tip is really to be embracing who you are, the best in you, and to really embrace that why you want to do this. If the why is clear, the way will always, just come out, just evolve, just appear. And so that's it. That judgment will always be there. I used to be afraid, and I'm sure you're always afraid. Also, it's always, I think it's ingrained in us to be afraid of judgment, like how people will look at us. Are we good enough to be able to deliver this product that we said we are going to do? Are we great enough? Like for me, and you hit it right on the head, on the nail. It's like, was I afraid of public speaking? I was afraid of being judged. I was afraid of what people were saying. I mean, does this person even make sense? What is she saying? Or I thought she was smart, but it doesn't appear that she's smart. So you're afraid of all of these things. And the number one thing is really to be able to go inside yourself and stop judging yourself. Because if you stop judging yourself, that's really where the shift will come from. You're not going to be as afraid because you wouldn't care as much about other people. So the first is really to look inward and to accept the good and not so good things about yourself. So what if I'm not great at English? Right? I mean, so what if I can still write a book? So what if I want to be a speaker, but I'm not really a great person? I feel that I don't communicate well. I'm just going to go out there and try. Just try and embrace that. Right? Because it's really about the intent. People will feel the intent more than the words. And then maybe the second tip would really be, it may be difficult, but to look at people as judgmental as you are also. So they're coming from their own fear as well. So when they judge you, they're actually judging themselves. So maybe to practice a little more compassion and look at them as saying, you may be judging people who are judging you. They're really just putting themselves down. So instead of looking at it from a point of maybe fear that, oh, they're judging me and I feel so bad because they're judging me, maybe to look at it as they're judging not really me, but they're judging themselves. So I will be compassionate about the way I look at them, and I will look at their maybe reactions as more about them rather than about me. So it's really just about them and their projection of what they think is right or wrong. It's not just about you, right? So what are they projecting? So more often when we react or judge other people, it's a projection of how we see ourselves. So if you look at it from that point of view, that all of these people are just judging you coming from their own their own fear, their own judgment, then maybe it will be easier for you to pivot. I remember just a quick story about judgment. I was so afraid. It took me, I think, on the 10th day until I told people I had COVID. I was so afraid of judgment, right? Because, I was the first people who were buying all of those masks, alcohol. I was talking, I was so careful in my meetings, in my seminars. I told everyone to be, a foot, 2 feet apart. And so here I was afraid of, being judged. And then I was also afraid of being ostracized. Like, you're like a leper, diba? Parang you're sick and you're going to be infectious. And I was so afraid of doing, that. And I did get a bit of judgment from people that I knew, but also from people I didn't know, like in the hospital. There was a time where I saw someone in the corridor and he ran away from me as if really I had, because I did have an infectious disease, right? So he really ran away. I could see the big eyes running away from me. That was a judgment. And then I was afraid also. I mean, I got so sad about myself. I got a bit depressed. I was like thinking, wow, this is going to be my life moving forward. And then I just decided to shift and see, maybe that guy had a family, or maybe that guy is afraid of dying, or maybe that guy is misinformed. Maybe he thinks that out of, we were like probably 5 feet apart. 5 feet apart, even if he had a mask on and I had a mask on, maybe he thought that I was still going to be infectious. So I just decided to look at it from his point of view. Why was he, reacting that way? Why was the judgment coming from? And if we look at it from that perspective of the other person and we try to understand where they're coming from, maybe the impact is not one that will discourage us, but instead encourage us to be able to do what we want to do. So I guess that's the tip there.
Yeah, put yourself in other people's shoes. Another thing I experienced, because as you know, I've been trying to pivot after a long stint in the corporate world as well in publishing. Of course, in the corporate world, as leaders, we tend to be perfectionists, right? And we demand excellence from everyone under us, right? And I remember before, banned in my vocabulary yung pwede na, hindi pwedeng pwede na, kailangan perfect.
Yeah.
And then now that I've pivoted and I'm new in this field and doing new things, I think it's the perfectionistic tendencies that can be very debilitating. Parang hindi ka makaandar kasi hindi pwedeng-pwede na. And so, you don't move anymore, right? So like, for example, before I got to the point of live streaming on my own and doing this whole thing, even if it's a one-woman show, ang daming palpak na nangyari. And if I clung on to my perfectionistic tendencies, baka wala nang nangyari. Do you have any insights about that?
Yeah, I can so relate to that, diba? Parang we always want, we always want things to be perfect and in control,
Right.
whether you're in corporate or outside, right? And it's really about, you want, everything to go as planned, in your control. My tip there is I saw a quote. I can't remember where I read it, a book that I read. It's not about perfection. It's really about progress. So as you said, if you did not take that leap of faith, that it's okay for you to make mistakes. So what if, mali-mali yung car dyan, or hindi nag-on yung audio or whatever it is, mali yung ilaw, nag-offline or nagkaroon ng dead air. At least you moved, right? So that's the attitude of growth, right? It's not about perfection. You cannot achieve perfection. I think no. Even if you think it's perfect, right? It's never going to be perfect. There's always going to be another layer of perfection. You can always do things better. So it's not about perfection. It's about progress. So even if the progress is just little by little, then you can still move forward. You mentioned that it was so hard to pin me down. I did tell you that the reason why I was running away because I was scared. I was scared of talking, and I said, I wanted to be a perfect interviewee such that I was more comfortable. I would speak more slowly. I would be more articulate. But I realized when you asked me again, and as nahiya already, and I said, it's not about perfection. So as long as I'm able to communicate, what my thoughts are, then at least I'm moving forward. And little by little, the more that I embrace my discomfort, then maybe I'll get better. So those that were asking me, I would normally turn them down one time. And then the second, the third time, I would normally agree already. Because I would think, that's really just about progress. So now, if 5 times mo ako imbitahin ngayon, 2 times na lang pwede na. And maybe next time, 1 time na lang pwede na. Kasi it's really about progress. You just really want to move forward. Right? So, and in your case, congratulations. I mean, I'm so impressed with this live streaming with all of those words there.
And may I just say that I have no claim to fame except I've had over 100 episodes live streamed. You are the perfect interviewee.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. How much do I have to pay you? Say that.
So number 4 is action plan. Create an action plan with metrics, and I guess with a timetable, I suppose.
Yes. So normally, we think about our, we're so passionate going in, this is our plans and everything, but we don't make an action plan. It's all in our head. Right. Or it's all in the head of the person that we talk to. So you have to write it down. Create an action plan. Write it down either on paper or on the computer. Something visual. Create a vision board. Create a timeline. Create when you're going to do this. And how will you know that you've successfully already reached your goal? That's very important. Sometimes we put like action steps, like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. But how do you know that you've already been successful in what you're doing? You have to have a success metric. So for example, for me, as a speaker, for example, I would say yes right away, or I would get feedback. My success metric is I would ask the person who interviewed me to give me to give me a rating sheet, to tell me how I did and to give me points. That's a very clear, measurable, and observable way to measure metrics. So if you're a chef, how many people ordered from you? Or not just ordered, how many reordered from you? Because it's the reordering that's the challenge, right? They will try it one time. Then the second time is already, the first time is out of friendship. The second time maybe is out of like. The third time is really, when they really like your product already, it's really a fan already. So that's very important, the metrics. And you have to have an accountability. Maybe have an accountability partner. Tell somebody, hey, you're going to be accountable for, help me be accountable. Like if I said, I'm going to lose weight, like it's always a dream. I'm going to be more fit, right? I'm going to be more fit. So I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to be more fit. I'm going to run, etc. How long? How many minutes will I be on the treadmill? I have an accountability partner for that, who checks up on me, who calls me on my BS when I'm, pretending that I'm not strong enough to stand up or to do it, who encourages me. And I'm also an accountability partner for someone else who has another dream. And as a coach, I do that for my clients. I'm their accountability partner to support them to go where they want to go, and to be able to really visualize what the success look like for them.
Do you have some inspiring examples of people you have coached and how their dreams materialized or their goals?
Well, it's different things. Some of them are relationships, like they wanted to be a better boss, EQ, develop their EQ. And so when we talk about developing their leadership EQ, we always put metric. What does that look like? Because everybody will say, I want to be a better boss, but what does that look like? And I should know, I was a really bad boss in the beginning, like
What?
very controlling. I'm very controlling as a perfectionist. You know, if you're a perfectionist, you know, you kind of drive the people really hard, right? And I didn't explain to them. So you don't really think about how they feel. You just think we have to do it this way, right? And sometimes, you know, because I lacked that EQ and that empathy at the time, I didn't really think about what I was making them do or what they were going through until I was coached myself, right? To understand, to be more empathetic, to practice self-awareness, to be aware of my impact on other people. And I think that's where, I got to be a better boss. And because of that, so what I did, what I supported this leader was really to identify what does that look like. So in her case, better EQ was being more open to suggestions of people, so not interrupting when they talk, or two, asking them for their feedback when there were projects that had really tight deadlines. To ask them, is this doable, or what support do you need to make this doable? To bring them in. It's also painting a picture of the vision, like, team, this is what we're going to do. It's going to be so difficult. We're probably not going to sleep in the next 7 days, but we're going to work on this together. And it's the reward when we get to the end of our vision, when we're able to accomplish it. So when you're able to enroll them, you're able to get their buy-in. So you're not gonna be looked at as this leader who just drives them. You're now a leader that supports them because you've involved them. So that's what happened to that leader that I was working with, where she became a more empathetic leader. And how did we measure it? We had a test, a 360 behavioral test that her team took, and then every 3 months she would ask them to take the test, and we would see whether the scores would be improving. And that's another a great measure. Another great measure is really sales. That's very, very measurable. Like you say, I want to double my sales over the span of 1 year. But at the same time, I want to double my sales, but I want to be able to enjoy my life more. I want to be able to have better relationships with my family, my wife and my children. I want to be able to have more time to spend doing my passion, my hobbies. But at the same time, I want to double. So how was that going to look like? It would look like empowering his team, his mancom, so that the team would be so empowered to do the job that he not need to be there all the time. So he had more time, and at the end of the engagement, at the end of the year, he was able to realize more than double his revenues. But at the same time, he was spending more time with his wife. He was now able to go on trips with them. He was able to do his passion, which was running. He was able to run a marathon. And his team was also happier because he let them be. When before he was always on their back, telling them, do this 1, 2, 3, do this 1, 2, 3. He was a head CEO of a multi-billion company, and yet he was doing that, meeting with his team every day, morning, checking up on them in the afternoon. Every end of the week, he would always tell them what to do. He was really just a micromanager. And during that engagement, he was able to realize that for him to be able to realize his goal, to become a better leader, but at the same time be a joyful leader in all aspects of his life as a person, to make his relationships work, he needed to empower his team. And that's what he did. So now during the pandemic, his business is really doing well, and it's not really challenged because he was able to set the groundwork already prior to the pandemic, where his team was able to be more empowered, able to work on their own, even at home. He did not need to see what are you doing, what are your metrics, what's your output, because they're now all self-sufficient, and they're able to train their people under them to be as self-sufficient as they are. So those are just maybe some success stories. There's a lot more, maybe in another interview.
How do you know if your action plan is too ambitious or realistic? Like, especially if you're entering a new field, di ba? Paano malalaman kung ang kapal ko naman, kaya ko ba to? Or tama lang, sapat lang?
Well, I may not be the right person to speak that, because I always like pushing pushing the limits, right? But I think that if it's the way that I look at goals of my client is that look at it from a point of is it big enough to make you afraid?
Right,
Big
right.
enough to make you afraid to put in the commitment, the hard work, the resources, and the time. Like if it doesn't, so that big enough to make you afraid, but at the same time, big enough to make you excited. Like you're so excited about that, right? I can do this. I'm afraid I can't do it, but that feeling of satisfaction, like if you paint that picture, you feel that if I do this, then I can only say it's big enough when you imagine yourself doing it. I always ask them, how does it feel like? How does it look like when you've attained your goal? How does it, if you feel, oh, I'll feel so good about myself, I'll be so happy, then it's not big enough. I mean, it's okay, it's just right. But at the
Okay.
end, at the flip side, to be realistic, you also have to look at it from: is it big enough or is it too big for you? What are the pitfalls? Are you going to lose money? Are you going to
Right.
lose time? Right? And what's the impact to that? If you're saying that it's okay for me to lose this money because I'm more passionate about, I put more emphasis or priority on what I want to achieve, so it's okay. But the thing is, if it's so big and you're so enrolled in what you want to do, you will make it work. You will create an action plan to make it work. You will find the resources to make it work. You will find a way, maybe that the exact way that you want it, you will find a way. So for me, it's about the excitement, it's about the vision. I will always ask the client, imagine yourself when you've been able to accomplish that. How does it look? Who are you going to be with? How does it feel? Paint me a picture and even write it down. Write a whole essay about your future self. What does it feel like? What does it look like? When that person can write it down, like really imagine it, then it's a great goal. If the person is so paralyzed that he can't even write it down even after a week, then maybe that's not the right goal for them, right? You also have to ground it on reality. For example, um, this is an example. If I was, if somebody wanted to be an American Idol singer, right? To win an American Idol, right? I want to be an American Idol singer. Like me, I am tone deaf. And what I do, I'm tone deaf. You have to ground it on reality. It will never happen. But I can create my own contest, right?
Right.
And I can I can do my own karaoke at home. If that's really what I want to do, just really passion for singing, I can still pursue my passion without attaching it to a title because I don't control the title, but I can control my experience, right? I can sing in the shower. I can, in my mind. The funny thing about, I don't know if you ever know anyone, because I know you sing really well,
No,
but
I can't.
I'm tone deaf. So the thing is with tone deaf people like me, I don't even know that I'm tone deaf. When I sing, I think I'm perfect. When I sing, I think I'm doing it pitch perfect, right? It's the only other people who tell me, oh, I think you're kind of off pitch there. That's okay.
Si Ann Curtis nga, she made a career out of it, di ba?
That's true.
So number 5, act and advance. Take
Yeah.
initiative, act boldly, and stay focused.
So we've gone through all the A's: assess, analyze. You have the right attitude. You have an action plan already. Now it's time to act. The battle is never won until the action is there. You have so much plans. It's all on paper. You have to move. Like, get up and move, do something, even if it's small steps. And that's really the big chunk of pivoting is really acting on whatever your plan is so that you can advance. And acting means taking the initiative to do your research, looking at your resources, looking at what your connections are, who can you tap, um,
Right.
which friends or family can you go to? Like if you're looking for a new job or you need a job but badly, who can you text or call? Like, Myrz, I have a job, but be very specific. That's why it has to be clear. Like your assessment is very clear. When I ask you for a job, it has to be, Mirza, can you please help me look for a job? I'm looking for a job like this. I want to be a chef in a restaurant. And my kind of cooking is more Filipino cooking, right? And so I don't have a degree, but so and so and so and so. It has to be very specific. So the action has to be, if you don't move, then it's just all in your mind. You're not gonna be able to pivot. So it's like the pivoting, right? The actual act of pivoting. You have to move one leg to move
Right.
sideways. Like even if you're like your perfect form, like you're great. Your one foot is planted and the one foot is like moving away already, but you don't follow it through. It's the follow through that will spell the success of any pivot. So move it, and then so that you can advance. Because really, it's really just about to advance is really progress. So just move it. Act boldly is to ask. A lot of people have lost jobs, right? And they say, I feel so bad. I didn't want to lose my job. Like there are restaurants, hotels that have closed and have put their people on furlough. We can't control that, right? We can't control losing a job. But what we can control is the way we think about it and the way we act. So, for example, if you lost a job during the pandemic, you can't control that. But you can control what you do. You can control about polishing, how much time you put in polishing your resume, how much time you're going to spend calling the people you know, or reaching out to your friends, or even updating your LinkedIn profile, or going out there and doing a job hunt, or going to the sites where being visible on the sites and saying, hey, I need a job. I was looking at LinkedIn a couple of weeks ago, and the ones that had the highest likes were the people that were vulnerable enough to say, like there was this one flight attendant who say, I had just been furloughed and I'm looking for a job. I don't have any skills except for the fact that as a flight attendant, I'm great at customer service. I'm great at making the travelers happy. I'm great at giving them what they need, making them feel safe and making them feel good. And so she posted that, she got, I think, 10,000 likes.
Wow.
And then she got so many comments, people that didn't know, offering her jobs. Like, I have a job. You can be customer service. You can be telemarketer. You can be my customer service. You can be my salesperson. You can manage my business, etc., etc. There were so many people offering. She had so much. She was so deluged with offers. She didn't even know what to do anymore. One person. All she had to do was write an essay, at one paragraph, telling them, I'm so lost. This has been all my life, the only work that I've ever been done since I graduated from college. I don't know what to do. I'm so lost, but I'm willing to do anything and everything for my children. That's what she wrote down. She acted boldly. She was vulnerable enough to say. And how many people will say, I've done everything? But have you really done everything? Have you really called your whole phone book? Have you ever really looked at all your friends in Facebook and messaged them and said, I need a job? Not to ask for charity, but to say, I need a job, or I need help, or I'm selling food, right? I mean, a lot of people started selling all of those. I got fat with all of those, supporting my friends, selling food today, ube pandesal, all of those, wonderful food that they're selling online for people who have pivoted, right? And, just going out there and saying, hey guys, I have a new business. Can you support me? Just try it out, just acting boldly. And then to stay focused. Sometimes there are days that nobody will support you. There are days that you will feel discouraged. There will be days that people will discourage you and say, hey, you gotta, do something different. It's not working out. But just stay focused try to stay focused for a while and be patient. Maybe, they say that the breakthrough happens during the darkest times. So just, believe. If you really feel that your plan is solid, you've done the research, and you know that your plan is solid, you just really have to stay focused and, stay the course. Sometimes it takes longer. Some people, they develop their one big invention or one great business at 70 years old. Like Colonel Sanders, how old was he when he put up KFC? He was so old already, much older than we are. Of course, we're not yet that old, but much older than we are. So there's still a lot of hope for us to pivot.
Right. And I guess now is not the time para mahiya.
Yeah.
Wala nang hiya ngayon.
Oo, no. Ano pa ikahihiyaan natin, di ba? Parang, you really want to survive. You want to create, you want to live a successful, happy life, right?
And these days, it's really essential to be online. So many people still resist, like being on social networks, being on LinkedIn or Instagram. What do you have to say about that? Things have changed so much that it's an essential rather than, di ba?
Yeah, because how will people find you? And you're talking about me. You know how long I resisted being on Facebook? My God, I think I only went on Facebook like 3 or 4 years ago.
Really?
And even then I wasn't posting a lot. Even when I got sick, I wasn't posting, but I saw the value, the power of social media. When I asked for support, people I didn't even know. I put up a group, an initiative for the frontliners, Alay sa Pinoy Frontliners.
Yes, yes,
Half
yes.
of them, Myrza, of those that donated, I did not know. I would even get donations worth 10 pesos. So
Wow.
really, I didn't even know. So I'm not yet 100% embracing, but I do have social presence. But my advice really, especially coming from a reluctant person like me, who is not really comfortable in social media, now is the time to explore and to go out of your comfort zone. No great achievement has ever been born out of your being comfortable. You really have to push yourself. So the coaches that have trained with me, I always encourage them to go out. So if you see my wall and the wall of Center for Executive Coaching, they've been going out of their comfort zone and declaring to the world that I am a coach.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I was so proud of them when they were doing that, and they got so much response, positive response, when they said, just to declare, I took this program, I graduated, I have the tools, I have the knowledge, I have the expertise, I have the passion, I am a coach, I'm looking for 5 people to coach. Oh my god, they got like 20 people who like volunteered to be coached. And if you look at them, they're all now coaching people, and they're pursuing their passion. A lot of them are still in their jobs because they want to do it dual. They want to coach, create a coaching culture in their companies, but they also want to support other people at their downtimes, like in the evening when their kids are asleep. One person posted, I can only coach you at night and when my kids are asleep. And that was so funny when I saw that post. And if you look at her wall prior, she wasn't posting anything about herself. She was just posting about food, but just going out of her comfort zone allowed her to help other people. Imagine the impact that you can make and the support that you can give to other people. Like you, so many people. I heard some people when listening to your sessions, like they were supported. That's why the first time that I heard about it was somebody telling me that she had watched, I think, you interviewing someone talking about
Wow.
pursuing their passion. And another was about master dating, like during the Valentine,
Yeah.
you interviewed somebody about master dating, right? And
Yes,
so
yes.
yes, and my friend had said, I was feeling so down during the Valentine season, and I
Oh.
saw you just asked Miss Milk. She didn't even know who you were. She, I saw this episode, and she was talking about being loving yourself, and you don't need a partner or something like that. I didn't really remember what she said, but the impact was not about the words. It was about how it made her feel really good about being single, and being able to embrace who she was and looking at it from a perspective of she doesn't need anyone. I mean, great if she finds someone, but she doesn't need that person to be happy, that you can be happy with yourself. And look at that impact because of social media, because you're
Wow.
present in social media. I mean, that person you probably don't even know, she didn't watch it live, she watched it in a replay. She just, I think, I don't know if you posted it in YouTube. So
Yes.
great, imagine the impact of people. Some people
Wow.
messaged me when I was interviewed in a religious show. I was so afraid because I felt, who am I? I'm such a sinner. I mean, I'm so imperfect, right? Who am I to even talk about God's role in my life? And they were saying, it's not about imperfection. Your imperfection will actually bring out the power of God in you. And so I said, okay, never mind. I'll just share whatever I say. If I'm bulwal, it's okay. So I just shared. And then people were messaging me, people I didn't know. That's the power of media. Like they were saying, I was touched with what you shared about God. I'm going through something as well. And my child is sick, or their husband is sick also, and you gave me strength to be more prayerful, to have faith. And imagine the power of that one interview. I was so scared. My God, I was like almost crying in tears right before because I was saying, oh my God, I'm such. People might say I'm a poser. People might say that I'm pretending to be godlike when I'm not. But at the end of the day, it was really about my own personal experience. And I said, if that was about my experience, nobody had the right to judge. But the impact there was people being touched in their own experience, their own life with God. And I felt, wow, that was such a powerful way to demonstrate how a simple sharing on social media sharing about your experience can support other people. So my advice for those who haven't embraced it yet, like me, it's not yet 100% there. Go to your children or go to your pamangkins or your friends who are very young. They will know what to do. They will know how to put it up. They will know how to help you come up with your name, your picture, how to even post, right? So, you can embrace that. Just a funny story. My husband, who's 10 years my senior, was so afraid. He's not very savvy on social media. So he has a LinkedIn, no, not a LinkedIn, he has a Instagram account and he paints, he loves painting. So he puts his paintings there. And so, he's so happy when people would comment, but he didn't want to sell them because these are his babies. It's his passion. He didn't want to let them go. But during the pandemic, because somebody really just badgered him, he ended up selling. But like a baby, he's escorted the painting to the next owner, like interviewed the person, parang may checklist pa siya, how to take care of this painting and everything. So it supported him. But the funny thing is, one time he went home and he said, "Honey, bakit ganun ang Instagram? I keep seeing the post of this person. He keeps on posting and posting in my feed. Why is his face always there?" And I say, honey, because maybe you're following him and that's what you're doing. So he thought that the person was literally, how can I remove his face or his post there? Because the post kept on going on his wall. So, and he learned, my daughter taught him, how to remove so that it's not appearing all the time, all of these ads and everything. So, he learned at his age. Not so old, but at his age, he learned.
Never too late to learn.
Sorry.
And it's never too late to learn and ask for help.
I know, yes. Never too late. Never too
Children.
late. Your next help will be to learn about this app that you just did. I really like the fact that you have all of this prompt there. That it's not PowerPoint, so it's great. That's what I learned today. How to use this app. I will learn this so that maybe next time I do it, I can do it already. Thank you for sharing that.
And I'm older than you. You can learn too. Thank you so much for your anecdote about your friend who was touched by the episode. Parang suddenly I remembered actually confiding to you about my secret dream of being a host. And although I'm not on TV, well, I did have like a few TV spots, but eventually now I guess I'm hosting kahit papaano.
Yes, you are, and you've touched a life. That one life, that life of a person has an impact. That has an exponential impact. If she's happier, the people around her will be happier, right? So that's the impact you create. So keep on doing what you're doing because it's really great. The topics that you're featuring, just the courage and the passion to do this.
Right. Speaking of people who are cheerleaders in our life, Kenneth Suleza is always there. He's always watching my shows. And he has a question for you. What is it about coaching that you fell in love with and your reason for doing it?
What about coaching? There's so many things. I can think of several. So number one, it's the impact that you create. Like when you're able to see people shift from point A to point B and achieve their goals and create and be happier, the satisfaction, the fulfillment of that impact is number one. Number two, having my own time. Like, when you're in corporate, you're kind of tied down to the time of, your goals and company, right? So having my own time, spending my own time to be with my family, I can choose when I'm going to work, when I'm going to do my coaching sessions. So having my own time, controlling my time. The third is choosing my clients. I mean, what company or what product is it that you can choose your own client, right? Here, you can choose your client. If I have a discovery call and I feel the client is not a good match, both of us, then I can decline the client and refer the client to someone else. I can have the power to choose the freedom to choose my client. The fourth is the flexibility. I can work anywhere. 2 years ago, I remember I was in Japan. I was in front of the Otaru Canal. I was coaching somebody in Colorado. And I was telling her, look at how beautiful it is. I'm able to coach you. You're in Colorado. I'm in Japan. I'm in this beautiful place. I'm sitting down drinking a cup of tea. And I can do it. I can be flexible anywhere. I can work anywhere. And of course, the biggest, what I love about that, the biggest love is really the fulfillment that you get. And then at the end of the day, it's also very financially rewarding. what I was earning in my former corporate job, I'm earning now I think almost double. I'm charging a couple of $100 for an hour for coaching with me, and that's my standard global rate. I never got to got paid that much in the corporate world, so I get to do so much, so such fulfilling work, and I see the impact. My clients become my really great friends. I'm able to support people. I'm also exponentially impacting not just the life of my client, but also the lives of the people that they're leading. Like if I'm working with a leader, imagine the 1,000 or 10,000 employees that they have. If he becomes a better leader, he's going to uplift the lives of other people. And then I get paid for doing that. What kind of job, as I always say, this job, being a coach is a job you never want to retire from. It's a
Wow.
dream job. You never want to retire from, no matter how, sometimes it can be challenging because, of course, you absorb the negative energy sometimes, or when clients can be difficult, or when they're facing difficult challenges. But it's always at the end of the day, it's fulfilling because when you do work that you love, it doesn't become work at all. It just becomes, sometimes I work some days, evenings. Before I would used to say, oh, pagod naman, I'm so looking forward to the days that I don't have holidays, long holidays or weekends. Now there's no difference between a holiday and a weekend because
Right.
we're doing work that I love, and I'm so passionate about it that that's why when I see coaches who go to the program, or even coaches that don't go to the program but doing same work, I'm happy that there are more people doing the work. We call it light work, spreading the light for other people, shining that light in other people's lives.
Okay, so mag-enroll na ako. You wanna invite
Go.
them? I'm flashing all the information at the bottom of the screen. Maybe you wanna
So,
invite them.
of course, being a reluctant person, you can follow me on FB Coach Carla Manas, and Executive Coaching PH for my coaching program. My IG is CV Manas and Executive Coaching PH. I promise to populate and share our interview today. Thank you very much, Myrz. And this was so easy. I think
Diba?
this is
I
the
told
easiest
you.
interview that I've ever done. I think you're a great coach. I think I should hire you to be my public speaking coach. It's so easy. It was, it's so easy in the way it's so comfortable.
Thank you so much, Carla. Thank you for helping empower all of us so we can find happiness and fulfillment through the kind of work that we love and could thrive in. Thank you for making it possible.
Thank you for making it possible, to live my ikigai. I thrive for that. That's really what I live for. And just this opportunity to share is a privilege for me. So I wish you more luck and more interviews.
Yes, same to you. More clients and more spreading of the coaching blessings.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank
I'll see
you.
you soon.
Bye.
Take care. Bye, Mirza.
Thank you, everyone. This has been Ask Ms. Myrz, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye.